Okay. Today, our panel session moderator is Dr. Toyin Odutola. She's the Associate Professor and Assistant Director of the Emerald Energy Institute. She's an Associate Professor at the Department of Petroleum and Gas Engineering, University of Port Harcourt, and also the Assistant Director at the Emerald Energy Institute. She holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, a master's degree in petroleum engineering from the African University of Science and Technology, and a doctorate in petroleum engineering from the University of Port Harcourt. She is trained in flow assurance at the Center for Hydrate Research at the Colorado School of Mines, USA. She designed and fabricated Nigeria's first hydrate flow loop, and her work was featured by the British Broadcasting Corporation in 2022. She has 3 patents, a published monograph, and several peer-reviewed papers in reputable journals. She was a visiting scholar at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the USA in 2020. She's currently a fellow of the MIT Empowering the Teachers Program, USA, and a fellow of the Nigerian Science Leadership Program. Dr. Odutola is a registered engineer with the Council for Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria. She's a corporate member of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, the Nigerian Society of Engineers, and the Nigerian Society of Chemical Engineers. Dr. Odutola has received several awards, the most recent of which is the 2024 SPE Africa Regional Distinguished Achievement Award for Petroleum Engineering Faculty Award. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's make welcome Dr. Toyin Odutola to the stage. I'm sure if you heard that bio, you are sure ready for an interesting discourse. Thank you very much. Please let's keep clapping until she gets to the podium, and she'll do us the honors to introducing the other panelists who would be joining her. Thank you very much.
Good morning, SPE Regional Director. Good morning, SPE Council Chair. Good morning, our SPE Port Harcourt Section Chair. And good morning, distinguished colleagues, and welcome to today's discussion. So today we'll be talking about the role of energy professionals in optimizing the midstream and downstream value chain for sustainable growth in the energy industry. And it's my pleasure to moderate this session. As Nigeria navigates a rapidly growing energy landscape marked by subsidy removals, feedstock unavailability, global price shocks, supply chain complexities, and the imperative for sustainability, the midstream and downstream sectors have become central to achieving energy security and economic stability. Today, we are presented with this unique opportunity to discuss how energy professionals, through technical expertise, innovation, and collaboration, can shape the future of these sectors. Our discussion today is not just about identifying problems. It's about exchanging ideas, proposing solutions, and forging alliances that move our sector forward. And I'm very fortunate that we have with us today esteemed panelists whose experience spans the full breadth of this complex and dynamic value chain, So it's my pleasure to introduce our first panelist today, who is joining us online. And our first panelist is Madam Mojisola Iyambo. So I'm going to read her bio now. Madam Mojisola Iyambo is a seasoned gas consultant with extensive experience in Nigeria oil and gas industry. Most recently, she served as Associate Vice President, Gas Business at Hess Energy, where she had P&L responsibility for the company's energy sector gas business, spanning upstream, midstream, and downstream operations. Before joining Hess Holding, Moji was the head of gas commercial at Ayrton Exploration and Production Company Limited. In this capacity, she led the organization's commercial and business development activities for its gas business. Prior to Ayrton, she worked at Axela Group as head of regional gas business development, a position she assumed following 8 years at Oando, where she was responsible for corporate finance and business development. Earlier in her career, Moji gained experience in investment banking at Renaissance Security Nigeria Limited, audit and assurance services at KPMG Professional Services, and the non-profit sector at the Foundation for Democracy in Africa. She holds a Bachelor's of Science in Management and Accounting from Obafemi Awolowo University in 2002, and an MBA in Finance and Strategic Management from the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania, 2008. Moji is also a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Please, let's put our hands together for Madam Moji. Very impressive bio, and you'd agree with me that she's a good discussant in this panel. The second panelists, maybe I should just introduce those that are joining us online. So the next panelist who will be joining us online is Professor Joseph Atubokiki Ajenka. Joseph Atubokiki Ajenka is Emmanuel Egboga's chair and professor of petroleum engineering and university administrator. He is a fellow of several professional bodies and the Nigerian Academy of Engineering. He has authored and co-authored over 260 publications and received 5 patents. He has delivered over 100 lectures and presentations, developed and co-developed 6 software applications, founded and co-founded startups, research institutes, and centers, and attracted over 10 national and international research grants. He pioneered the development of entrepreneurial university in Nigeria. He was awarded honorary degree of the IFP School, Paris, in 2017. Professor Ajenka was the 7th Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt from 2010 to 2015. He was also the pioneer director of the Institute of Petroleum Studies in 2003 to 2010. And the IPES is an international collaborative graduate school between the University of Port Harcourt and IFP School Paris in partnership with NMPC Total Joint Venture, the first example of a triple helix institution. He was head of department, Petroleum Engineering Department in 1995 to 1997. He's a member of the governing board of African Virtual University, AVU, Kenya, 2013 to 2015. In 2014 and 15, he was the chairman, Committee of Vice Chancellors of Federal Universities and chairman, Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian Universities, and represented CVC on the NYSC National Governing Board. He was a member of the board of National Universities Commission, NUC, and the board of National Office of Technology Acquisition and Promotion. NOTAP, Chairman, National Advisory Committee on Universities of Technology, 2021, Member, National University Ranking Advisory Committee, NURAC, 2022, Chairman, National Technical Committee on Oil and Gas, Petroleum and Petrochemical on Oil and Petroleum and Petrochemical Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON, in 2009. Member, Advisory Board of Deep Decarbonization Pathway in Nigeria. Projects, long-term energy scenarios modeling, Center for Climate Change and Development, Alex Akweme University, Ndu Alike. He's a member of Board of Trustees of the Nigerian Society of Petroleum Engineers, SPE, member, SPE Africa Regional Advisory Board, and chairman, Board of Trustees of the Nigerian Institute of Petroleum Engineers. He is the chairman of the technical board of NEDI, Newi of Naseni, director of Petronet Africa, and vice chairman of Emmanuel Egboga Foundation. Professor Ajenka is married to Dr. Mrs. Mercy Fine Lady Ajenka, and the marriage is blessed with 3 children and 4 grandchildren. Please, let's put our hands together for my Oga, my boss. Yeah, very impressive bio. So now we'll go to our physical panelists. So I'll be calling on Mr. Austin Ogbobo. Mr. Austin Ogbobo has over 3 decades of working experience, 2.5 decades in the oil and gas industry, and 5 years in financial service industry, with functional leadership experience of over 2 decades in the oil and gas industry, cutting across finance, commercial, insurance, production, and corporate planning. This involves developing strategic initiatives and making exceptional positive impact in the industry and economy at large. A catalyst for change driven by the desire for excellence and constantly seeking challenges with a vision to creating value. An accomplished and highly experienced manager of human and material resources that possesses strong leadership, interpersonal and communication skills, a dynamic leader with proven track record of handling high, complex, and large-scale projects, driving revenue and growth, improving operational efficiency, and creating optimal value for stakeholders. He's an award-winning manager across all business functions and economy, known for innovative and sophisticated solutions. So we are so privileged to have Mr. Austin Ogbobo with us here. So let's put our hands together for him as he comes to the stage. Please, can we get an usher to bring him to the right seat? Thank you. So our 4th panelist is Sir Bernard Brown. Sir Bernard Brown is a public servant with over 20 years of experience in the Nigerian public sector. As an electrical and electronics engineer by profession, Sir Bernard has utilized his technical expertise to drive regulatory excellence in the oil and gas industry. Sir Bernard is currently an assistant director and head of operations at the Nigeria Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority in Port Harcourt. Starting as a young regulatory officer, Sir Bernard has consistently demonstrated his dedication to the downstream sector, growing through the ranks of his current leadership position. Throughout his career, Sir Bernard has played a pivotal role in shaping the regulatory landscape of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. His experience, technical expertise, and leadership acumen make him a respectable figure in the industry. Sir Bernard's commitment to excellence has earned him a reputation as a seasoned regulator dedicated to ensuring the safe and efficient operation of the downstream sector. Please, let's put our hands together for Sir Bernard as he comes to his seat. So I think when I was greeting everybody, I forgot to greet my very energetic YPs. So please put your hands together for yourself for putting together this very lovely program. And you all agree with me that today's discussion is a very important one. It affects us all. By the time subsidy removal happened, we know how prices of things skyrocketed. You know, initially we used to buy PMS at 187 or thereabouts. All of a sudden, it went up to like 600. It kept on going up. We're seeing 900. There were times we bought 1,000, you know, and then the refinery came, the Dangote refinery, we're still buying at high prices. So it's a very important discussion because we really need to know what we are going to be doing differently to maximize things. So my first question will be for Madam Moji. Since the removal of subsidies in 2023, PMS prices in Nigeria has fluctuated and we all have experienced it. And this has also impacted transportation, businesses, and consumer purchasing power nationwide. You know, things are now very expensive because even foodstuff have to be transported using some of these refined products, and the prices of food skyrocketed. So, Madam Oji, what strategies can be implemented to manage feedstock cost volatility and ensure refined product price stability? How can refined product prices be more stable?
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Moderator. First of all, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. It's indeed a pleasure to be within your midst. I feel very intimidated with the panel with other panelists, but I'll do my best to do justice to the topic being discussed. So your question is, how can we ensure that there's some form of price stability for refined products? And I'll try to keep it very simple. For any product, the price of your product is a mix of certain things. One, the cost of your raw materials plus a margin, just keeping it very simple. So if you want that cost to be fixed, then you have to fix. If you want the price at which you sell your product to be fixed, then you have to fix what goes on with the cost of your raw materials, and then what you want to do with the margin. So I'll backtrack to the cost of raw materials. As we know, for most refined products, the main raw material is the crude. So for us to see a situation where there's stability in petrol prices or diesel prices or other white product prices, then there has to be a stability in crude price. We know that that is not how it works. We know that crude is a commodity. It is internationally traded, and the price is determined by the international market, depending on what's going on within demand and supply. So what a refinery can do is to try to implement some strategies to sort of control the price of its raw material, which is crude, and the number of financial products that are available, and a number of contracting options that are available to do that. And that one, you could buy an option, a call option, which is basically you have a right to buy your crude at a certain price, a predetermined price sometime in the future. So you can have a ceiling, you can have a maximum price for your input product, if that's possible. You could also buy maybe a futures contract, and with a futures contract, what happens is it's sort of like a fixed price contract where you tell your suppliers for 5 years or for 10 years, I'm going to buy crude at this particular price. But you know, all this is textbook approach. The key thing to say is that crude is internationally traded. Prices are determined by the international market. And if you have if your cost of production is floating, then your cost of the price of your product would also be floating, which is why today you hear that Dangote, for example, has reduced prices by X naira. That's just because there is that there's that volatility with respect to crude oil prices. So it's something that we're going to continue to see. And like I said, the way to manage it is if the refinery, the person refining the crude, is able to buy certain financial products to stabilize the cost of its raw materials. We don't want to go back to the region of subsidies where government will subsidize any difference. No, we don't want to go back to that. But given what we have now, that will be, from my perspective, one way to sort of stabilize the cost of raw materials, so that at least the cost of the refined product that you have also has some stability. Easy to do theoretically, but very challenging when it comes to doing it practically. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Muji. Thank you for those insights. Yes, so thank you for sharing how the refineries should look for products at and maybe get some kind of arrangement for crude oil at a constant price, a stable price, so that they can produce for a period of time and with a stable price. However, when this subsidy removal happened and when the price kept on fluctuating, some of us felt the regulators should have stepped in and done something to ensure that, you know, we don't go to this filling station, we are seeing something else, and we go to another filling station, we are seeing something else. But that I'm very grateful that we have someone from, we have a regulator here. So my second question is for you, Sir Bennett Brown. I want to know, what role does the authority play in ensuring sustainable development of the midstream and downstream sector for energy efficiency?
Hello. Thank you so much. I think first and foremost is we need to be clear. We are not operators, we are regulators. Most of the things we do is to carry out a regulatory support, you know, in order to achieve certain things. So we try as much as possible to ensure that companies, you know, carried out or do the operations in a cleaner and more efficient manner. We try to do this, you know, trying to set standards and enforcing those standards to see that companies actually carry out their jobs in a safe, efficient manner. So we can now mandate, for instance, global best practice of certain things that they want to do. We can also maybe like establish some guidelines, some of these guidelines to ensure that they maybe in like refining, like gas processing and distribution, we can say, for instance, we can look at their processes and see that these there are certain equipments that they are using. We always will encourage a low emission equipment, for instance. We can also encourage maybe a gas recovery system. Sometimes we can also look at the process and see that against what you are doing. We can also see a combined heat and power system. In other words, is a CHP system. And then we will also tell you and then see that you try to look at doing it in a more efficient manner as against what you ordinarily should do. So what we do is to give a regulatory support. And that's on all of those things are things that have driven us to ensuring that, you know, certain regulations that we put in place are actually geared towards targeting a particular or achieving a particular result. So in the gas sector, for instance, like we can just say, okay, let us see how to reduce the gas flaring. And so we can put up a legislation, maybe like, for instance, the gas flare regulation, the waste prevention, and then waste prevention and pollution. So we can just look at it. Part of what we can do, maybe in order for you to reduce the gas flaring, we can say, okay, we can penalize for excessive gas. And also sometimes we can just look at what are you doing to ensure that, yes, you actually reduce gas flaring. So we can look at all of these things. And also sometimes we can also encourage companies to invest in maybe in a more efficient manner, so as to get a particular result. So in essence, what we do is to give a regulatory support, and that is what we are doing to companies like the modular refineries. Like you can see, Aradel, you can, if maybe they will confirm what in terms of regulations, how we've been able to assist them, like gas processing facilities, gas-based industries. They will tell you how far we have gone in terms of giving them support. So we will look at, sometimes we will look at regulation generally. Even in the downstream, you can just say, okay, we can mandate, for instance, in filling stations, we can now mandate maybe a vapor recovery system. We can mandate a vapor recovery system and to minimize hydrocarbon losses. That is in the filling station. And sometimes, like, we can also control the fuel quality. In terms of controlling the fuel quality, maybe like we can just target maybe like a low sulfur standard. We can just say, okay, say the white products that we know, maybe petrol, maybe AGO, maybe kerosene. Okay, say, let us see how they can meet the low sulfur standard, so that, like AGO, for instance, now I can tell you, in our tank farms anywhere in Nigeria, if you carry, or if a vessel carries an AGO that is up to, let's say, more than 50 ppm, you cannot discharge in any of our tank farms. So these are some of the things that we can put in place as a regulatory body, that, yes, because we have looked at it, we have looked at, we have looked at the processes, we can achieve that. So we'll give you a support for you to achieve that. And we'll tell you that, okay, for AGO, you cannot go more than 50 ppm. So they will now begin to work and then see that we achieve that. Like I can tell you, there are some other supports that we are giving. For instance, like in our tank farms, recently, we have launched what we call safe loading initiative. In other words, not every truck can go into our tank farms, to load any product, because we look at the safety of that truck and then tell you that no, you cannot, because we have the mandate to stop any truck from going there to load. So in essence, we are not like, we are not operators. What we do is to give a regulatory guidance. And before we do that, of course, we will sit together, with the operators, with the companies, and look at the best way forward. And that is why it is very important for us to have open communication with the authority in this case. So you have an open communication so that we know exactly, we can provide feedback, and then we can clarify expectations also. So these are some of the things that we can render in order to achieve a particular result.
Thank you, Sir Bennett. Please, let's put our hands together for him. So I heard you talk about some safe loading initiatives that you're putting together, and how you control fuel quality, which is very important, because I've heard of people who bought fuel from reputable filling stations, and they started having issues with their engine. So it's good to know that the regulators are trying to stop all of these bad products from getting to the filling stations, and we commend you on that. My third question will be going to Mr. Austin Ogbobo. And what do you believe are the most pressing infrastructural gaps in current midstream and downstream operations? And what solutions would you propose to fill those gaps?
All right, thanks, moderator, and to the audience. It's a privilege to be here. I'll give one or two background, stories. Then on that basis, I will, take a deep dive into the questions. So for me, I say it's a privilege because the background story being that, quite frankly, I didn't know who I was coming to speak with. And your coordinator, Emanuela, have been trying to reach me, but for some reason, we could not connect. So I called a colleague of mine who connected with Emanuela. And when I came in this morning, I tried to tell my colleague, can you do a scan of who I'm going to speak with? He says young professional. I say, when you say young professionals, are they students? Are trying to size the audience, but I didn't quite get it. So when I came in this morning, I came in very early. When I saw the audience, I was really glad. One, because this is the future of the energy industry. Please give yourself a hand of applause. Now, the second story I want to give, why was I not able to reach Emanuela? Over 2 months, 3 months, I've been in the swamp. What has happened? As I came in, I sat in front, I looked, this is Port Harcourt zone. So I presume a number of you live in Port Harcourt. I don't know if you can recall what happened March 22. I'll tell you, there was an explosion. One of the infrastructures we have got exploded. And I've been in there in the swamp. And we are talking about infrastructure gap in our society. Yeah? Now, let me take that and keep for a while. That's why when I came out, I've been in with PPE. That's why when I came out, I quickly rushed the suit because I've not worn a suit in a long time. Yeah? But let me put that for a while and let the audience know, because you are the future, your position in the global energy mix. How you determine the level of prosperity of any nation is their energy poverty. Globally, I think we're in the technology world, some of you can Google. Energy poverty currently globally is about, you have over 800 million people without light. Globally, sub-Saharan Africa, which we belong, it's about 580, about 80%. Yeah? So what does it tell us? It tells us that even though there are challenges, there are opportunities for young professionals. So the world is there for young professionals to take. Now, let's bring it home a bit to Nigeria. I think two speakers, the regulator and one of the speakers that was traveling, particularly mentioned gas. Most of us, all through our lives, will be hearing Nigeria oil, oil, oil. Today, for Nigeria, we have 200 TCF, over 200 proven gas reserve. I don't just want to say it from the air. If you say TCF, you might not understand, but let me step back and try to make a comparison. Australia, for example, just a country like us, it has 70 TCF. Australia, 70 TCF. Nigeria, proven over 200 TCF. Unproven over 600, just to have a balance. Now, in Australia's gas of 70, their liquefaction capacity is about 89 TCF, cubic meters that they produce. Nigeria, with 200, we have about 23. I'm just trying to put some things in context to demonstrate the kind of opportunities that is out there for us. Now let's bring it further down. So what are our challenges? What are the gaps which we see on the midstream and the downstream sector? From the pipelines to the storage facilities to the distribution facilities. Now, let me focus on, because we can talk all day if you have to discuss it, but let me just take the niche of pipelines. Again, if you Google, most of our pipelines are aged, the least about 30 years. And I will talk more about it. Yeah, about 30 years. When you check and you say, what does it take for us to get the level of pipeline? That's the connect, that's the nerve. And I'll demonstrate that. What does it take for us as a country to have adequate pipelines? Between 10 to 15 billion dollars in the next 10 years. If you check how much that is in the nation's budget, you know that we'll struggle to get that. Now, again, what are the gaps looking at pipelines on its own? From my perspective, I'm folding my sleeves and being hands on ground. We as Nigerian LNG, we have one pipeline over 200 kilometers. Just that alone, we cannot fill our plants. We have to also work with other gas suppliers, to Oando, to Total, to ensure we have that pipeline. But how efficient is it? I said I was coming from the swamp. From November last year to, let me say to date, that's about 5 months. As a corporate, we've experienced 16 incursions. 16. Averagely, that might be about 2 or 3 in a month. And if you sit back and situate it, for every infraction, how long does it take? How much do we lose as a corporate? So the challenges are huge. And the moderator said we are not just here to talk about problems. We'll have to talk about solutions. Yesterday, I came out and I had a section of my organizations, they call themselves innovative team, all sorts, they come up and they said they want to have an audience with me. I said, okay, so what? They say they have a solution for the pipelines. They say they have a software. When you clamp it, if there's any form of encroachment, it starts sending you emails and sending you text. Those are the kind of innovations that I see that we can play in. If I, again, bring in some practical examples, if I look at everybody in this audience, I don't want to say I will struggle, but we slept, we woke up, we came here. How many of us had light in that period? No, I have to bring reality. There's something that brings that light, which is the infrastructure. For those that have light, maybe they must have spent a little bit above putting generators, which is highly inefficient. That's an infrastructure deficit. Those who cook, who have taken breakfast, practically all of us has a cylinder tube. When you want to fill it, you have to go somewhere or somebody comes. If you go to the developed world, you don't know, you just switch it on. Highly inefficient for you to go and take a cylinder and go and bring it. First of all, do you even have the gas? For Nigerian LNG, the impact of clean and sustainable energy is critical. 2007, we started putting LPG, that's cooking gas, into the domestic market. We put 50,000 metric tons. We had over 400, but there was no infrastructure to take it to the last mile. So there are so many challenges across. We have the capacity as a country, I think it's about 2 million metric tons we take. We have a capacity, if we're able to socialize it, to take up to 10 million metric tons at the minimum, but it's 2 million. Now, what is the challenge? It's infrastructure. So we can go on and on and on, but my point is, for young engineers, it's for you to take. I was once in a conference and it was outside and people were giving presentations. And someone said in Africa, we don't have roads, we don't have infrastructures. But the key point is that is where the opportunity is. So again, it's for dreamers, it's for you to take up the gauntlet and bring innovations into the industry. Let me stop here. And, maybe later on, if there are clarifications, I can take that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Austin. Yeah, so you outlined some of the infrastructural gaps that we have. You talked about pipeline, distribution, storage facilities, and he has also charged you young professionals that see these as opportunities for making a change, you know. So even if we have all the infrastructure, we have the right infrastructure, and we do not have the right talent, I think the downstream and midstream sector will still suffer. Talent development is now more critical than ever for our operational efficiency. When our regional director was speaking, he talked about how most times when young professionals are told, come and work in the refinery, they say, no, 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 I'm a petroleum engineer. I want to work in upstream sector. So, but with all of what we are discussing and how we said there's even more money in midstream and downstream, I'm sure some of us have already started changing our mindset towards that. So my next question is going to Professor Ajenka. How can the academic sector groom the next generation of energy leaders? And how can industry players effectively train their workforce to adopt emerging technologies and best practices? It's not there. It's not there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, we in the academic sector, our responsibility is to develop talent. And for some time now, we have realized that we need to train young people who are industry ready on one side. On the other side, we need to train people who can think innovation, who can think critically to find solutions to the problems of society. And so we expect that the graduates, when they come out, they will be hands-on, industry-ready, or they can also create opportunities for themselves through creativity and innovation. So we have been reimagining the higher education sector. And one of the development models is what has now been popularly known as triple helix, partnership between government, academia, and industry. Collaboration and partnership, very important. So the thinking is to train people in a manner in which industry itself is active, government technocrats are active, and we in the university are active so that we bake the bread properly. You know, we bake the graduates properly, equip them with skills, knowledge, the right attitude, and also values. And this is what we've been trying to do. This is the origin of IPS and so on. So the impact, of course, in the industry is also obvious. However, since I'm going to speak to people who are young professionals, I want them to know that we are in the era of the knowledge society, the era of the knowledge economy. Graduation is not the end of learning. So today, the whole world, everybody is looking at lifelong learning. These are the kind of skills we need to acquire, lifelong learning, you know? And I can tell you that in this new era, the last speaker already talked about innovation. We have challenges. We need people who can solve problems, solution providers. And in this new era of knowledge economy, learning must be continuous. Industry itself must be ready to train their staff. And we in the university should also reimagine the university to ensure that we provide support lifelong learning. So one of the things you will notice is that we're in the era of energy transition. And people are looking at renewables. People are looking at our own industry as if we're the main cause of the climate change. We're the main cause of pollution. And yet, we need to know how to do decarbonization of the industry. So these are new skills we need to acquire: decarbonization, learn about carbon capture and sequestration. We need to learn that we're in the era of digital transformation. Today, it is interesting to note that the trend in the digital transformation is that we are going to look for personalized solutions, precision solutions. If you want to look at production enhancement or even PVT, those of you who are petroleum engineers, PVT, we've been looking at PVT as a regional thing. You know, you look at the PVT of the Niger Delta. No, with big data, you can do PVT, well-specific, reservoir-specific PVT. And so I will encourage young professionals to begin to look at AI, look at machine learning. How do we apply this knowledge to come up with precision engineering and solve problems that will ensure greater productivity and profitability for the industry? Come up with solutions that will also contribute to innovation in the industry. So the talent management system now is that graduation is not the end of learning. Lifelong learning must be something ingrained in each and every one of us. Me, I'm retired professor of petroleum engineering, but I'm still struggling to learn about AI. My students have been teaching me about machine learning in their projects and so on. I need to learn about AI. For instance, when we share facilities like a trunk line, like the last speaker said, where different companies produce into, we need to learn how to apply digital technology like blockchain to know how to account for the production of each company into the shared facility in such a way that there's no dispute, you know, and everybody will understand. So we're in the era of digital technology. We must pay attention to the development of new technologies. We must continue to learn. Fortunately, today, you can go online and learn, and you can acquire microcredits. You can stay in your office and learn, and then acquire new skills that will put you up properly. So, industry today is not going to pay you for the certificate you acquire. They will pay you for the certification, the skill certification. Skill certification. So we must pay attention to the development of the education sector. When industry changes, education will change. When education changes, industry will also change. So let me stop here at the moment and maybe take up things later. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Prof. Please let's put hands together for the 7th Vice Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt. Okay.
Madam Moderator, if I may, I just wanted to add a few points to what the Prof said, you know, from my perspective in terms of also a mind shift for young professionals. A few points and I'll be quick, if I may.
Sure, please go ahead.
I think the first for me is around adaptability. So as young professionals in the industry, we need to now start thinking about energy instead of just thinking petroleum.
Exactly.
Because of the ongoing discourse around energy transition. So whatever is a form of energy needs to be the renewed way of thinking, and we have to be adaptable in that respect. The second, I would say, would be just bringing it down to, well, I would say both our local and global industry is around understanding policy and regulation. There's a lot of change that is happening, and I will talk about domestically. The PIA has come into force. You've had a number of regulations that have been issued pursuant to the PIA. As a young professional, you need to understand these regulations and know that the legal landscape and the regulatory landscape is evolving. And as it's evolving, how does that affect the industry in which you're a professional in? So you need to keep abreast, not just for young professionals, even for yours truly. Keep abreast with these changes that are coming into play from both a policy and a regulatory perspective. The third would be around just environmental sustainability knowledge. As you know, those are two keywords around one, environmental issues. Two, what are the sustainability practice? Because one of the key things that we talk about is ensuring that there is energy sustainability. And the fourth would be around innovation. And our prof has mentioned it, Mr. Bugu, I believe, also mentioned it. So innovation around the number of challenges that we have in the industry. There's carbon capture, there's issues around metering, issues around, like Prof said, we're all producing into a common pipeline. How do we ensure that we're doing allocation right? So we have to have a mindset. I'm not just going to go and work for LNG or a Shell or whoever and just sit in a desk. We have to start changing our mindset to say, as a young professional, what are the innovative things that I can bring on board to solve the issues that we're seeing in the industry? Then I would say value chain thinking has become very important. We don't want, I shouldn't say we don't want, but I think the best professionals are people that can have an end-to-end thinking. I would rather have someone in my team that can see how his negotiation of commercial contract links to the company's bottom line. So as a young professional, don't just be comfortable in knowing what you do, maybe as a petroleum engineer, but it's very critical to understand how what you do as a petroleum engineer, how does that link? How does that tie into the company's bottom line? So end-to-end thinking, think value. Don't think just numbers, but think value. And then lastly is around resilience. I started off my career as an accountant, and then I went into finance and then into the industry. Given the changes that are going on, and a number of the panelists have spoken about these changes, you have to be resilient. And that comes with, continuous learning. That comes with navigating what is going on in terms of the industry challenges and preferring solutions. I just thought it was important, to make those points. We'll stop at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, let's put our hands together for all our panelists. The discussion has been very insightful so far. There's so much to learn already, and we've not even gone to the second round of questions. So we'll be going to the second round of questions, and for the sake of time, because you saw them bringing a note to me, please, we'll be keeping our responses for about 3 minutes or less. And then some of these questions I'm about asking, you already gave some insights to them, so it makes it easier for us. So my first question will be, in the second round, will be for Mr. Austin. So to foster entrepreneurial innovation, how can young professionals leverage existing infrastructural gaps? I think you already talked about it, but you can just emphasize a little more. How can they leverage existing infrastructural and talent gaps as opportunities for upskilling and creating solutions that meet the evolving needs of the energy industry? And please, before he responds, I want to also say that you would have an opportunity to also ask the panelists questions, so you can start putting down your questions. Please, sir.
Thank you, moderator. My moderator has put a plug to say 3 minutes. We will try, because I have well, I guess the panel, the audience are enjoying it, but we'll try as much as possible to make it 3 minutes.
Okay, please tell your coordinator to give me more time.
Right.
That's what they gave me this paper. If they change it, I give the panelists more time. So who is in charge? Joshua?
Yeah.
Can we extend it? Where is he? YP president. Are you?
No, I'll try and keep it at 3
Okay.
minutes as much
All
as
right then.
possible. But we are talking about innovation in the midstream and downstream. First and foremost, for me, is to even understand what the challenges are. You don't just come out with innovations and say you want to do this, you want to do that. What are the challenges facing the industry? I've touched on that a bit, right? And in everything, I think the last speaker alluded to seeing end to end, the whole value chain. In everything we do, irrespective of your innovation, there's something that is driving it. That's funding, right? The ability to get funds to be able to implement those innovations. 10th of this month, Nigerian LNG signed a micro, small, and medium enterprise scheme of 1 billion naira with BOI. What is it supposed to do? It's supposed to drive innovation. For entrepreneurs, if you have ideas, if you're in our gas transmission system or if you're in a host community, you can go to that fund, bring your ideas, and on that basis, you can trigger these innovations, irrespective of what innovations are. That's number one. Step back again and again, challenge. I talked about we waking up and going to buy bottle plants. Have you thought about a digital way? Sit down, everybody sits down. From your app, you can order. Instead of going to buy it, they bring it, they supply you your gas. Yeah, it's another way to do it. Then in terms of even metering those gas as well. So there are different areas. I'm particularly looking at the pipeline and the gas industry because, again, I speak alluded to thinking of how things are changing. Today there is the vision, the decade of gas from 2020 to 2030. We are pushing all our gas into the economy. How can young engineers play a part in that? One of the speakers also alluded to knowing the regulations and PIA. What does it cover? How do you take advantage of those loopholes in terms of innovation? Let me stop here because I'm looking at by my side and they are saying, okay, but I'll be open for further questions and clarifications later on in the session.
Thank you so much. Please, let's put our hands together for Mr. Austin. Thank you for sharing. Now he has given us a lot of business ideas. I'm sure you were all writing it down. In the next 1 or 2 months, I would like to see an app, for ordering gas. Most of you are good programmers. I would like to refill my next cylinder by ordering on your app. So please get it done. Coming back to Professor Ajenka. Sir, I know you already talked about some of those skills, but would like you to share a little more on skills that young professionals can develop to effectively navigate and address the challenges in the midstream and downstream sectors. Above there. Okay. IT, can Prof hear us? Okay. Oh, so while we're waiting for Prof to...
No, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Basically, the kind of skills we need are digital skills, innovation skills, entrepreneurial skills, and so on. The last speaker talked about problems. So the first thing is to interact with experienced engineers or workers to know the problems. And once there's a problem, we begin to put on the thinking cap, critical thinking, and begin to find solutions to the problems. So one of the skills is innovation skills, creativity skills. So we need those skills. And You know, either you are working in a company or you are not working. If you are working in a company, when I was in Shell, we used to have in-house study teams. In those study teams, we were solving problems. And so if you bring your creativity and innovation skills to bear, you'll be outstanding. That's entrepreneurship. You are within the company. But if you are outside, and like you said, if somebody comes up with a new app to order for gas and so on, those are skills we need to acquire. And once you have those skills, of course, everybody will know that you have those skills. And today, we need startup schools. The lady talked about regulations. Unfortunately, we don't teach those regulations in the universities, but in the industry, I was involved in teaching people regulations through the Petroleum Industry Act, So even going back to university, we need to know these regulations so that you don't run foul of some of these regulations when you're in practice. I'm sure you must have heard about Education 4.0. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. And that's why I said when industry changes, education must change, whether you're in the school or out of school. And so the kind of education we are going to be looking at is skills, skills and skills and skills. So that yesterday I was involved in a program, and what they were doing was the kind of new convocation that I've been reimagining. That convocation should not just be degree certificate, but skills, professional skills certification, and also graduating with startups, new products, and so on. So we would like to encourage everybody to think innovation, think creativity, think entrepreneurship, think commercialization of results. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Please, let's put our hands together for Prof. So one of the things that stood out for me when Prof was speaking was how we don't teach regulation. We don't teach about regulatory requirements in the universities. But today, for those young professionals that are already thinking of the gas business they want to start, we have a regulator here. So my next question will be for Sir Bennett. I want to know, in the light of all what we are discussing, what are the current regulatory requirements affecting Nigerian midstream and downstream sectors, and how can companies proactively adapt to ensure compliance and foster sustainable growth?
Okay, like I said earlier, I think let me just address one or two things now. Regulatory compliance, yes. I think Prof has said it and some other speakers with the moderator. You don't teach that. But I can tell you as young engineers, one of the things that you can do is to look at every law, especially the regulations. In fact, let me even challenge this. What are the things that you think you can do? Bring them up. The regulatory body is there to receive you. You can even make a presentation, and then we'll take it off from there. We are just like I said, we are regulators. We regulate the industry. We can meet some of you see, my colleague here said this. We can make a case for you. You can go initially, you can go all by yourself. It might not work, but when the regulator says something, it can work. So what are the things you think that you can do? Can you sit down to articulate? Because there are certain units that take care of innovations like that in our office. We look at what you can do, and then we'll push it on from there. So that the NMDPRA has introduced, some regulations in the past, and of course that concerns the environment and also the safety and even general operation. Yes, operation generally in the downstream and midstream industry. So we look at like in this case now we want to narrow it to the young engineer. So I can tell you that you can even begin now to maybe like a kind of conduct maybe a compliance or a kind of audit. You can, let's say, some companies can do, some companies can call it maybe regulatory impact assessment. In other words, you look at the policy side by side with the procedure and then also the training. What kind of training you want to have for this? So when you put all of them together, you can come up with something. You can come up with something. Then our website is robust enough. I've said earlier, it's robust enough. Whatever thing that you think you can do, just if you go there, you can even see in all of the offices nationwide, there is an address. Somebody will attend to you. Our handles are working. So, and we want to encourage young engineers because, for instance, some of the things that you can do, maybe compliance management system, where you have the use of technology with data analytics. Young engineers deal with a lot of data. With data analytics, you can write, maybe you can write something that will reduce the cost for a company. Whatever thing that you think you can do, just bring it to the regulator to make it. We will call you and then we will hear from you. You make a presentation and then we'll just take it off from there. So we want to assist young engineers to at least to live their potentials. And I think that this forum is a good place to start. So today I'm challenging you that whatever thing you can come up, a lot of speakers have said, what are the things, what applications you want to put forward? Bring it and we will take it off from there. Because sometimes you never can tell where your application can reach, but the regulator is telling you today that whatever thing you think that you can offer to the industry, bring it. That is how we write regulations. Not just from act. We write regulations like this.